Hello, and welcome again to Shaping the Future. I'm Dr. Jeff Gold, and I have the honor of serving as the president here at the University of Nebraska. This series, Shaping the Future, is dedicated to highlighting remarkable individuals who are driving change across our campuses and across our communities. Today, I am honored to be joined by my colleague and friend, Heath Mello, President and Chief Executive Officer of the Greater Omaha Chamber. Heath, of course, is a proud Nebraskan whose career has been rooted in public service and economic development. Heath is a former state senator. He's played a vital role in shaping policies and initiatives that strengthen Nebraska's economy and the quality of life. He's also spent time here at the University of Nebraska, and I had the pleasure of working with him as he led external relations. And now, as the leader of the Greater Omaha Chamber, Heath now works to ensure that Omaha continues to be a vibrant hub of innovation, collaboration, and growth. And we'll be discussing his journey, the impact of economic development, and the critical role the University of Nebraska plays in preparing the workforce for tomorrow. So Heath, thanks so much for being with us. It's great to see you again. I know we don't have enough time to catch up, as we literally used to see each other every day or many times a day. But before we talk about economic development and the role of the university and the chamber, our audience is always interested in your career trajectory. So did you wake up one morning and say, you know, I'm going to have a career in public service? Were you mentored? Was there somebody that was prominent in your life? How did all that happen?
Well, first off, it's great to spend some time with you, President Gold, in terms of just being able to talk a little bit about what's happening both in terms of Omaha as the university and what's happening across the state around economic development. But, you know, my journey is like a lot of other Nebraskans. You know, I was a first-generation college student who, after high school, I came to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, thinking that I wanted to go be a lawyer, and during that experience, I picked a number of different degree paths, so to speak, along the way, and ended up coming back to political science by the end of my undergraduate career, and realized by the end of my experience at UNL that public service had a calling to me in some form or another. Most folks probably don't realize at the age of 22 that public service is something they want to do. But partially, I had just some great experiences at UNL, both from faculty members, both from advisors, and a lot of great engagement from student organizations that really helped me understand the importance of being involved, of really rolling up your sleeves and getting engaged and trying to lead in issues and in causes that you believed in.
And make a difference.
And make a difference. And I always tell everybody I attributed that experience as an undergraduate student of really helping drive me towards public service at a young age. And you fast forward that a little bit, I was fortunate enough to go work for our U.S. Senator Ben Nelson at a young age, and then was elected at the Nebraska legislature at the age of 29. And so to speak, that's...
So does that make you the youngest or among the youngest?
I was one of the youngest in the era of term limits. You know, I had a couple other of my colleagues who were a little younger than I was, but it was a great experience to be in the legislature in my 20s, to be able to see public policy from a different perspective, as well as be able to kind of grow up in a time, I think, in our unicameral, both in terms of seeing the unicameral and the state go through a policy perspective that was very different, because term limits at that time in Nebraska was really new. We had lost a tremendous amount of leadership, and folks like myself who were able to get involved in electoral politics at a really young age were able to give a different perspective, and were able to represent our community in South Omaha with a zeal and a lot of energy to really be able to put issues that really matter to the Omaha area at the forefront of the Capitol and the forefront of the legislature. And some of those issues I'm able to still work on today at the Greater Omaha Chamber, which is economic development.
And of course, all your years serving on the Appropriations Committee and as chair of the Appropriations Committee, I think that's when you and I first met. We were drawing stuff on the back of table napkins, if you remember, in over dinner, and it was an amazing opportunity with Jeremy Norquist.
Yes.
I'm sure you remember that as well. And so fast forward to your role in the Chamber now, and all of that history, all of that dedication, all of that knowledge about Omaha. How would you describe the role of the Chamber today?
Well, you know, the Greater Omaha Chamber is a very unique organization. You know, we're the largest business association and the oldest business association in the state of Nebraska. Nearly almost 132 years old we'll be on St. Patrick's Day this year.
Is that a coincidence?
It's a coincidence.
You can celebrate.
And nearly 3,000 members. You know, we really have a unique focus on economic development as a regional economic development organization that ties in public policy as well as serving our members. And it's really unique because we serve both Omaha, but it's more than just Omaha itself. We have a regional economic development partnership.
Hence the name Greater
Omaha, yes. We serve 6 counties in Nebraska and 2 counties in Iowa. And that alone allows us to work with a variety of stakeholders. Stakeholders not just in the private sector, but a lot of public sector stakeholders like the University of Nebraska, which has been a long-standing partner to the Greater Omaha Chamber for decades, to be able to really help drive not just physical development in the Greater Omaha area, but clearly research, development, talent development, things that we're finding out more and more right now are at the forefront of the future of economic development.
Because I know we've talked about this a lot at the Chamber level, and as the audience may know, certainly not a secret, I've had the pleasure of serving on the Chamber board for many years since I've been here, and through a lot of transition. But in all of these discussions, workforce development, talent development, talent acquisition to the community has been core to the strategy of the Chamber. It's core to the strategy of the Nebraska Chamber as well. And maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the programs that you've been so involved with to develop that workforce, and particularly the partnerships with the university.
Well, that's a great question, President Gold, because you know right now we just released our new 3-year strategy, Greater Omaha, and one of those priorities really is focused on brain gain, and part of that brain gain focus is really reinvesting and having the entire region to reinvest that focus in those partnerships with higher education, realizing that the university is arguably the best talent magnet we have, not just as a region, but as a state, being able to draw in talent from across the world in terms of researchers, faculty, and students that otherwise we wouldn't have and wouldn't get in the Greater Omaha area. Some of those partnerships that we also see is not just a focus exclusively on helping companies and employers find talent to fill jobs. A lot of that talent comes from the research and development that also is spun out from some amazing research that leads to startups. You and I both know some of the great work that's happened from some of the startups at UNMC, through Unimed and Unitech, that we in Omaha are so fortunate to see some of those great startup companies that have been able to take that technology, build out a company, and build more and more talent that's come from those
and set their roots right here in Nebraska.
Build those companies, set up those roots, hire university students to work for those startup companies, and continue to build that ecosystem where we as a Greater Omaha Chamber and Economic Development Organization get to then take their great story and go highlight that story, not just in Omaha and around the region, but really around the country as we go try to recruit other startups to want to be part of that ecosystem, as well as trying to help get other folks to invest in their work at the end of the day. It really is a unique partnership that the university has been able to really foster, not just with us as a chamber and an economic development organization, but for the whole metro region for a number of years of really helping everyone focus on the opportunities we have on economic development.
You know, we recently shared the work done by Paul Umbach and the Trip Umbach Company that looked at economic development at the university. And as you recall from your time here, every 3 or so years, sometimes timed with a legislative cycle, we would do an economic impact study. And Paul and his company did their usual work, and they demonstrated substantial growth across the whole system with Nebraska Medicine, about a $1.6 billion growth. But what I wanted to ask you about is he made a comment that I wasn't quite so sure how to interpret it as either the good news or the bad news. And what he said is that as a state, per capita, per dollar of GDP, the University of Nebraska is the highest that he's studied in the country.
Wow.
currently and the fastest growing. Now, that from my seat as the president of the university sounds like a really good thing. We're contributing to the economy of the state, large workforce development, et cetera, large rate of growth. But what that means in proportional to the business sectors, the ag sectors, the manufacturing sectors, the insurance and banking sectors, that the university is growing faster than they are. And I wonder, if that ratio disturbs you at all, or it actually gave me some pause. It gave me some pride, but it also gave me some pause that we are outpacing many of the other economic sectors in the state.
I think in some form or another, I think there is both a pride and maybe a pause to have in that perspective. I think the pride factor is the university is so ingrained with so many other sectors across our economy, which I think that is something very unique with the University of Nebraska system particularly.
Sure, a lot of public-private partnerships.
You are engaged with so many industries from finance and insurance, through agriculture, through a variety of aspects of healthcare. It's really unique in terms of a state like Nebraska where we only have one university system. And because of that reason, the University of Nebraska system and all 4 of its campuses truly are ingrained in so much of all of our economy that it really is that point of pride that we should see that economic growth happen. And to see it happen that fast, I think, is a testament to leadership. I think it's a testament to your leadership, the board's leadership, and the willingness for policymakers to continue to invest in the university. Now, from a private sector perspective, I think there's some opportunities still in some sectors to continue to grow. We've seen some opportunities in the financial services and insurance industry to grow faster, just in the Omaha area particularly.
Sure.
My friends in Greater Nebraska would argue that agriculture is perhaps the fastest growing areas in Greater Nebraska, and manufacturing is a real opportunity as well. But I think the point of pride that I hear consistently is when the university is doing well, the state's doing well. And I think that's something from an economic development perspective. We see that in the Greater Omaha area. We see it with students, we see it with research, and we see it with the new funding that the university is able to bring in, both from philanthropic sources, but also from various federal research grants.
Yeah, so maybe I should think about it as a leading economic indicator.
That is a good way to
rest
look
of
at
the
it.
State.
That's a good way to look at it, President.
So Heath, first of all, I want to thank you again for all that you do, your friendship, and for being with us today. And if our audience wants to learn more about the Chamber, I'm sure there's a website that you would direct them to.
Yes, they can visit us more at omahachamber.org or check us out on our LinkedIn page. We try to share a lot of information via LinkedIn a little bit more than maybe some of our other social media accounts, but you can find out an awful lot about us on our website at omahachamber.org.
Well, best to you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so
best
much.
to your family. And thank you so much for being here on this episode of Shaping the Future.